Have you ever felt the sting of silence from someone you care about? One day he's texting you non-stop, and the next, it's radio silence. No explanation, no warning, just cold, confusing distance. You're staring at your phone, replaying every conversation, wondering, what did I do wrong? But what if I told you his silence isn't about you at all? This video isn't about generic text-back advice. It's a deep dive into the male mind when he suddenly pulls away, and the surprising truth behind his behavior that most relationship coaches won't tell you. Because here's the reality: when a man ignores you, it's never random. He's not just busy or forgetful. Whether he's testing you, afraid of vulnerability, or emotionally checked out, there is always a reason, and if you don't understand it, you'll end up blaming yourself, chasing his attention, or worse, settling for breadcrumbs. Right now, you're at a crossroads. Do you let the silence take over your self-worth, or do you learn how to decode his behavior, take back your power, and respond with strength? In the next 25 minutes, we're going to break down the real psychology of why men ignore women and what he's truly thinking when he does it. You'll walk away with clarity, confidence, and a strategy that puts you back in control. So don't skip ahead. Don't click away. This isn't just another dating video. This is the one that changes how you see his silence and how you respond from here on out. Let's get into it. When he pulls away, your heart drops. The connection felt so real, so alive, and now he's distant. No explanation, no clarity, just silence. Your instinct tells you to do something, to reach out, to fix it, to say something that will pull him back. But that instinct, it's where most women go wrong. Because the #1 mistake women make when a man ignores them is trying to close the gap. Texting again to check in, sending a voice note to ask if he's okay, posting something you hope he'll see. You think if you just show you care a little more, he'll come back. But here's the truth. When you chase a man who's pulling away, you don't bring him closer. You push him further. Men don't respond to pressure the way women do. When you reach out from a place of anxiety or fear, they feel that energy. It doesn't feel warm or loving. It feels heavy. It feels like expectation. And when a man feels like he's being pulled toward a conversation he's not ready for, he shuts down even more. This isn't about playing hard to get. This is about emotional posture, about how you hold yourself in moments of uncertainty. When he pulls away and you stay grounded, you send a powerful message. I don't chase attention. I don't lose myself to confusion. I don't abandon my dignity to get clarity from someone who won't offer it. You're not being passive by staying quiet. You're being wise. Because when you let a man sit with the weight of his silence, without rewarding it with effort, he gets a clear view of what it feels like to lose your presence. And if he values it, he'll return. Not because you pulled him, but because he felt the space you left. So the next time he goes cold, don't panic, don't chase, just pause. He's watching how you respond, and your silence, held with grace and confidence, can speak louder than anything you could ever text. You're sitting there wondering, what is going through his head right now? He was present, attentive, maybe even affectionate, and now it's like someone flipped a switch. The texts are shorter, the calls have stopped, the energy feels off, and you can't help but spiral. But here's the truth most women don't hear enough. When a man pulls back, it doesn't always mean he's lost interest. In fact, many times it means he's overwhelmed with himself. Men are conditioned to suppress. From a young age, they're taught to value control over vulnerability. So when something shifts inside him, pressure, fear, uncertainty, emotional intensity, he often doesn't communicate. He retreats. Not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't know how to process the emotional weight. And here's the catch. If things are going well between you two, that can actually scare him more. It forces him to feel, to confront, to open. And for some men, that level of emotional exposure is foreign, even threatening. So when he starts ignoring you, here's what might actually be going on in his mind. He could be testing his emotional independence, wondering, am I losing myself in this? He could be measuring the seriousness of the connection, asking, is this something I'm ready for? Or worse, he's questioning his own worth, thinking, do I have what it takes to show up for her? And instead of leaning into that discomfort, he pulls away to regain control, not of you, but of himself. But here's where it gets dangerous. His silence starts to feel personal. You internalize it, and you assume his retreat means rejection. It doesn't. His silence is not always a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of his emotional capacity, his limits, his fear. Unfortunately, his silence is often his only language when he's overwhelmed by emotions he hasn't learned to name. Now, does that excuse the distance? No, but it does explain it, because emotional discomfort in men rarely looks like tears or conversations. It looks like withdrawal, irritability, silence. And here's the part most women miss. When he goes quiet, it's not your job to fill the space. It's not your job to chase clarity or fight to prove you're safe to love. Your job is to observe. Let the silence speak. Let his actions tell the story, because in those quiet gaps, the truth always rises. Men who want to love you fully will learn how to return on their own, with presence, with accountability. And the ones who don't, their silence becomes the answer. So the next time he pulls away, stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" Start asking, "What's going on inside of him? And is he capable of meeting me where I am?" Because when you understand his psychology, you stop taking it personally, and you start responding powerfully. When a man suddenly pulls away or starts ignoring you, your mind immediately starts racing. Is this just a test? Or is it a red flag? It's the million-dollar question that can save you heartache or help you invest wisely in love. Here's the truth. Sometimes men do test. It's not always about manipulation or playing games. Sometimes it's about understanding their own feelings or measuring your boundaries. They might pull back a little to see if you'll chase or how you respond to uncertainty. A test can be subtle. A delayed reply, a cancelled plan, or a bit of silence, designed to check if you respect yourself or if you'll lose your ground. It's a way of figuring out if you're someone who values yourself enough to hold your standards, or if you'll settle for less just to keep him close. But here's where it gets tricky. Not every withdrawal is a test. Sometimes silence or distance is a red flag, a sign of disrespect, disinterest, or emotional unavailability. Red flags scream louder over time. They don't come and go like little emotional experiments. They show up as patterns, repeated ignoring, inconsistent communication, lack of effort, or avoidance of important conversations. Red flags tell you who a person really is when things get uncomfortable. So how do you tell the difference? It comes down to intention and a test happens when a man cares enough to want to know your boundaries, but is unsure how to communicate directly. It's like a nervous experiment to see if you're for real, if you can stand your ground without losing yourself. The key here is respect. Even if he's pulling back, a man who respects you will eventually come back with honesty, clear communication, or reassurance. A red flag, on the other hand, is a man who uses silence as a weapon, who disappears repeatedly without explanation, who doesn't consider your feelings or your time. Red flags dismiss your value. They don't come with explanations or apologies. They leave you feeling anxious, confused, and drained, constantly questioning if you deserve better. Remember, every woman deserves clarity and consistency. If his distance leaves you guessing too often, if you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, that's not a test, that's a red flag waving right in your face. Trust your instincts. Notice how his actions make you feel. If his pullback causes respect for yourself to grow because you see your own worth, maybe it's a test you can pass together. But if it chips away at your confidence, leaves you doubting your value, or demands you lower your standards, it's time to listen to the red flags and protect your heart. Love isn't supposed to be a guessing game or a battle of wills. It should feel like a partnership where both people show up, even when it's hard. So when you wonder, is this a test or a red flag? Ask yourself, is he trying to understand me better, or is he avoiding the work it takes to truly be with me? Your answer will lead you to peace and the kind of love you truly deserve. When a man starts pulling away, the first thing many women wonder is, does he still care? The silence, the distance, the way he's no longer showing up like he used to, it feels like love is slipping through your fingers. But here's something important to understand. Sometimes he does still care deeply. He just doesn't know how to show it. Men and women express love differently. And this gap in emotional language can create confusion and hurt. For many men, showing care isn't about words or constant attention. It's about actions. But actions that might not look like what you expect or need. Sometimes he cares but feels overwhelmed, uncertain, or unsure how to communicate what's inside. That's when the distance grows. Not because the love is gone, but because he's stuck in his own head. Think about it this way. Emotional expression is a skill, not an instinct for everyone. While some men have learned to openly share feelings, others have been raised to believe vulnerability is weakness. They might love you fiercely, but feel lost about how to express that without losing control or seeming soft. So instead of reaching out, they withdraw. Instead of saying, "I care," they stay quiet, hoping somehow you'll understand without words. This doesn't make their behavior okay, it just makes it human. If you're feeling this gap, it's not necessarily about a lack of love, but about missing communication tools. Sometimes he's scared that opening up will make him appear weak, or he fears rejection if he's honest about his feelings. Other times he's just unsure how to navigate the complexity of emotions, especially if he's under stress or pressure in other parts of his life. So does he still care? Often yes, but does he show it the way you need? Maybe not. And that's where the challenge lies. If you want to bridge this gap, it starts with patience and clarity. Not by guessing or assuming, but by gently encouraging communication. Create space where he feels safe to open up without judgment. Ask open-ended questions like, "How are you feeling about us?" Or "What do you need from me right now?" Sometimes men need permission to be vulnerable. But remember, care without action or consistent effort isn't enough. Love needs to be seen, felt, and experienced. If he cares but doesn't show it at all, it leaves you feeling invisible. You deserve to be with someone who not only cares, but also makes you feel cared for. So trust your heart and your instincts. Notice whether his silence is a temporary struggle or a pattern of emotional unavailability. Sometimes the man who still cares just needs time and guidance to find his way back to expressing it. And sometimes the best thing you can do is protect your own heart while you wait. In the end, love is not just about feeling cared for in your head, but in your soul. And you deserve nothing less than that. Hot and cold behavior. It's confusing, frustrating, and it feels like emotional whiplash. One minute he's all in, texting non-stop, making plans, showing attention. And the next he disappears into silence or gives you the cold shoulder. You're left wondering, what does this really mean? Is he interested? Is he playing games? Or is something deeper going on? The truth is, hot and cold behavior is rarely about you. It's more about what's going on inside him, emotionally, mentally, or even practically. Sometimes a man's inconsistency comes from fear. Fear of getting too close, fear of losing independence, or fear of vulnerability. When things start to feel serious, that fear triggers a flight response, causing him to pull back suddenly, leaving you confused and hurt. Other times this behavior stems from uncertainty. Maybe he's not sure what he wants or where he stands with you, so he oscillates between giving you attention and retreating to figure things out. This isn't necessarily malicious, but it's definitely a sign he's not fully ready to commit or communicate openly. There's also a chance that hot and cold behavior is a reflection of his emotional maturity. Some men haven't yet developed the skills to manage their feelings or express themselves clearly. They might show up passionately one day and shut down the next, not out of spite, but because they don't know how to navigate their emotions or the relationship's demand. But here's what matters most. Hot and cold behavior creates instability. It keeps you on edge, second-guessing everything and questioning your worth. That emotional roller coaster is exhausting and unsustainable. You deserve consistency, someone who matches their words with actions, who communicates honestly, and who makes you feel secure. If you're experiencing this pattern, it's crucial to pay attention to how it affects you. Are you feeling valued and respected? Or are you anxious and drained? Are his moments of warmth genuine and balanced? Or do they leave you hanging with more questions than answers? Understanding the root of hot and cold behavior can help you decide your next step. Sometimes it's a sign that he's struggling internally and needs time or space to work through his fears or confusion. In those cases, clear boundaries and honest conversations can provide clarity for both of you. Other times, hot and cold is a red flag, a pattern of emotional unavailability or avoidance that won't change without commitment and effort. If that's the case, protecting your own emotional well-being becomes the priority. Remember, love should feel like safety, not suspense. If you find yourself constantly chasing the hot moments and fearing the cold ones, it's time to reevaluate if this relationship serves your happiness and growth. Ultimately, hot and cold behavior reveals more about where he is emotionally than about your worth. You are deserving of someone who's steady, present, and fully invested, not a roller coaster that leaves you wondering what's real. When he's ignoring you or pulling away, the question on your mind is probably this: should I text him or just wait? It feels like walking a tightrope. You want to reach out to break the silence, but you also don't want to seem desperate or push him further away. So what's the right move? First, understand this. Texting isn't just about the words, it's about timing, energy, and intention. When you text from a place of neediness or anxiety, that energy comes through loud and clear. And instead of drawing him closer, it often pushes him further away. Men pick up on that vibe subconsciously, even if they can't explain it. They sense when you're texting to fix something or to get reassurance rather than to share something positive or meaningful. So waiting doesn't mean silence out of fear. It means giving space with confidence. It means holding your emotional ground. It's about showing that you respect yourself enough not to chase attention from someone who's gone quiet. When you wait, you're not ignoring him. You're honoring your own value. That said, waiting doesn't have to mean leaving things completely cold. If you decide to reach out, make sure it's from a place of calm and curiosity, not panic or desperation. A simple, light message, something that doesn't demand an immediate reply or emotional labor, can open the door without overwhelming him. Think of it as extending an invitation, not a lifeline. But here's the catch. The why behind your texting matters most. Ask yourself, am I texting because I want to connect and share? Or am I texting because I'm afraid of losing him? If it's the latter, pause. Use that energy to reconnect with yourself instead. Focus on your interests, your friends, your goals. Texting when you're centered changes the game. You come from a place of strength, not need. And guess what? That confidence is magnetic. Remember, communication is a two-way street. If you find yourself always being the one to reach out, always initiating, and he rarely reciprocates, that's a sign to step back and reassess. Healthy relationships are balanced, where both people invest effort without feeling like it's a burden. So should you text him or wait? The answer lies in your energy and your boundaries. Text when you feel calm, clear, and confident. Wait when you need to protect your peace. And never text just to fill a silence that's uncomfortable. Let the silence do its work. In the end, what matters is that you show up for yourself first. Because when you respect your own time and feelings, you set the tone for how others should treat you. Texting or waiting isn't about controlling him. It's about controlling how you value yourself. Knowing when to walk away is one of the hardest lessons in love. You invest time, energy, and hope into someone, believing things will change, that they'll come around, that the distance will close, that the silence will turn into conversation. But sometimes walking away isn't about giving up. It's about choosing yourself. You walk away when the silence isn't temporary but a pattern, when his ignoring isn't a phase but a lifestyle, when you're left waiting for explanations that never come, and your heart feels heavier with every unanswered message. Love shouldn't feel like a guessing game or a test you keep failing. You walk away when your self-respect starts to erode, when you find yourself shrinking to fit into the gaps he leaves behind, adjusting your mood, your plans, even your self-worth just to avoid conflict or rejection. That's not love, that's survival. And survival at the cost of your peace is too high a price. You walk away when the hot moments are few and far between, and the cold ones become the norm. When the cycle of chasing and pulling away leaves you exhausted, anxious, and questioning your value. No one deserves to be a backup option or an emotional convenience. You walk away when the man you hoped he'd become never shows up, when his actions don't match his words and promises become empty echoes. Because actions speak louder than words, and consistent absence says everything you need to know. Walking away doesn't mean you didn't love enough or that you failed. It means you recognized your worth and chose to protect it. It means you're strong enough to say, I deserve better. And that strength is magnetic. It not only saves your heart, but sets the stage for healthier, more fulfilling connections in the future. It's okay to feel grief and disappointment. Let yourself feel it fully, but don't let it chain you to someone who isn't ready or willing to show up. The moment you decide to walk away is the moment you reclaim your power. And here's the secret. When you walk away without looking back, you create space for growth, space for healing, and space for love that matches your value. Because the right person won't make you question your worth or wonder if they care. They'll show up consistently, clearly, and with respect. So if you find yourself stuck in silence that cuts deeper than distance, if you're exhausted from hoping and waiting, trust yourself. Walking away isn't giving up. It's choosing a future where you're cherished, seen, and loved the way you deserve. Remember, your peace is priceless. Protect it fiercely. Walk away when it's time, not out of fear, but out of self-love. And never look back. because your best love story is still ahead. As we wrap up, let's take a moment to breathe in everything we've uncovered about when a man ignores you and what that silence really means. This journey isn't about decoding mysterious behavior or chasing answers that might never come. It's about understanding yourself, your worth, and how to respond with strength, clarity, and peace. The first and most important truth is this: you deserve to be seen, heard, and valued, not just when it's convenient, but consistently. Silence and distance can stir doubt, but they don't define your value. What defines you is how you hold yourself when the noise falls away. When you stay grounded, confident, and centered, you're showing the world and yourself that you won't settle for less than you deserve. So what should you do next? Start by tuning into your feelings without judgment. Notice when you feel anxious or desperate, and don't ignore those feelings, acknowledge them, but don't let them drive your decisions. Instead, choose to act from a place of calm and self-respect. That might mean giving him space to come back on his own terms. Or it might mean deciding that enough is enough and choosing to walk away to protect your peace. Remember, communication is key. If you feel confused, you have every right to seek clarity. But clarity doesn't mean chasing him down or demanding answers. It means expressing your needs honestly and then trusting his response, or lack thereof, as a reflection of his true intentions. Also, invest in yourself. This is your time to reconnect with your passions, your friends, and your goals. When you nurture your own happiness, you radiate confidence that no silence can dim. That confidence becomes magnetic. It draws the right people toward you and repels those who aren't aligned with your worth. Lastly, know that love is not a puzzle to solve or a game to play. It's a connection based on mutual respect, effort, and presence. If he's ignoring you, it's okay to ask whether this relationship is meeting those standards. If it's not, it's okay to prioritize yourself. So take a deep breath and remind yourself, your value is not dependent on his attention. You are whole, deserving, and powerful, with or without his presence. Walk forward with that truth lighting your way. The next step: trust yourself. Set your boundaries, speak your truth, and hold your peace like the treasure it is. Your best love story begins with the love you give yourself first. And that story, it's just getting started.